And welcome to Crafting with Amanda and my first video I have ever edited. This is the Craft with Heart Card Subscription box, and this is what came in it for the May through August months. So you can see all the cards. I had already done card number 7, but this walks you through what comes in the kit and what you'll need to make the cards. There's instructions that I didn't end up showing in the video, and my screen is a little off because this is the first video that I've created that wasn't through Facebook Live. So please bear with me. And I pair my envelopes up with the cards just because I like to make sure they're matchy-matchy. And there were some of them that I didn't care for how they match, so I went and got just white ones out of my stash and pulled the colored ones for other cards. So I grabbed a piece of scrap black. The new black is just amazing. It's so dark. So I'll add that to some of the cards later on. And this is the stamp set and the window frame foam and acetate, along with the silver star confetti. You get a mini black ink pad and a thin stamp block, so that if you're new to acrylic stamps, you have something that you can use with the stamps. Next, I'm going to get out my Workspace Wonder tool caddy that I have on my folding card table because I have life in transition right now. And I have several glues, micro tip scissors, a dense foam pad that I can dry emboss my flowers, an old close to my heart dry embossing tool, a piercing tool, and then you can see the emery board for sanding off the chads that are on the die cut pieces that I get punched out. The last thing at the end there was the chamois for cleaning the stamps, which is wonderful. So this is card 1, and I'm punching out all the pieces for card 1, and there's actually 2 separate sheets for, the 2 different cards that you get, but I'm just punching them out at the same time, and there's lines on the cards that show you this is for card 1, this is for card 2. So you just punch out everything for card 1, and then I'm separating it here, and then I realize, oh wait, I gotta have one of these for each of the cards, not just 2 on the one card. So I'd like to dry fit my layout, kind of looked at what they recommended for what this card was going to look like before I go ahead and modify it. Someone once said that it's hard to come up with a good idea, it's easy to modify it. So I took Close to My Heart's good idea and I modified it for what I wanted. They had a sentiment on the front of their card that count my lucky stars that we're friends. And I am sending out a lot of happy mail, or trying to, in this uncertain time, but I need some birthday cards. So I chose the sentiment from the stamp, something like time to celebrate you, and then happy birthday I put to the side, and I'll use it on the inside. And you don't see this, but I forgot to season the stamp. So it's going to look like I'm inking it up for a really long time, but in my novice video editing, I tried to edit it as I was inking up the stamp from the first time, and deleted the part where I cleaned the block off and seasoned the stamp on my arm, and then inked it up a second time. I also used the foam piece from the stamp underneath the card to make sure that the stamp has a crisp image. So those come with all the stamps that Close to My Heart has, and they're wonderful. And I'm sorry again, novice video editing and film person here. If you saw my setup, you would be laughing. But I'm dry embossing these flowers. You put the side that you want up, down, and this will curl the petals downward. So I started with it face down and curled all the petals. You can see the kind of height it gets. And then I just do the center to kind of bump them up. And I'll do the same thing with the bigger back piece. And once that's done, you kind of put the 2 together and offset the petals so that it gives a lot of, it looks more like a fuller flower, I would call it. And I thought it needed some foam tape to give it some more height and dimension, so I put foam tape in between the layers. And then I'm just using my hands off camera, sorry, and crunching the petals up a little bit just to give it a little more dimension. And the leaves, I'm going to do some veining on them. The first leaf I didn't, and then I realized that just do it down the center, do the veining on it, and it makes it look like a more natural leaf. And you can almost see that in the video. Sorry about the shadowing. I know I need different lighting as well, but we're getting there. So video 1, I'm actually pretty pleased. I'm going to put the aqua glue on this, and I love it because it kind of allows you to slide it where you want, and you'll see I do that with my finger. And then I grab my liquid glass bottle to kind of hold it in place while I put glue on the back side of my leaves and tuck those right in under the flower. So I just do that with all 4 leaves. And it doesn't take long for that glue to adhere. It's just kind of nice to have the liquid glass there to press down the center without crushing the rest of the petals. So we'll put that 4th leaf in there. And then as I was looking at it, oh, that's right, the center. The center I like to really make into like a bowl or a cup. And again, I apologize, it's off the screen, but I'm just really doing small little circles, and then I put it in the palm of my hand to really get a nice deep bowl, as much of a deep bowl you can get of a tiny piece of paper. And that's in the center of the flower. And then I grabbed the Silver Star confetti because I decided that it's a birthday card, it can have star confetti on it. So I grabbed my white Tombow adhesive, which is very nice, and just put some different dots around the card. And then I have this wonderful jewel picking tool, they call it, and you just pick up the confetti, and I'm using a piercing tool to kind of take it off the confetti. My jewel tool was very warm. It's hot today, and we don't have the air conditioning on because there's so much construction going on. The attic is wide open, so we're just leaving windows open. So I did that, and then I wanted to stamp the happy birthday on the inside. So I'm going to move those stars up out of the way, stamp happy birthday, and again, you don't see me do this, but I inked up the stamp and before I had seasoned it, so I uninked it, cleaned it, seasoned it on my arm, and it gets a nice cloudy color, and then re-inked it up again. But I was able to video edit that out, but you can't see me stamping, so I will get better, I promise. And after I stamped the happy birthday, I decided, you know what, this needs a couple stars on it too. So I just did 3 little dots, and you see at least one of the dots. And I used my jewel picker tool and pick up, and I'm getting better at this because I was able to actually pick it up, put it down, flip it over, because there's like a shiny side and a duller side to those stars. So I got those on. And then you can catch a glimpse of the card there. I used the score tool from my scoreboard from Close to My Heart, which they don't have anymore, but I love that. That's my favorite score tool, because my bone folder has been misplaced in this chaos that I am currently living in. Alright, so now we're on to card 2, and I'm going to punch out all the pieces for that. And the first piece I thought was for card 2, but on the sheet of die cuts it clearly says card 3, so I moved that off to the side. So now I'm punching out the pieces for card 2, and I'm going to separate those between the 2 card bases. And since I knew now that I wasn't going to assemble both cards, you'll see me put all the pieces for the second card in the envelope and push that off to the side for another time. So now I'm going to do some dry fitting again, just kind of to get a feel for what they recommended on the instructions. And I decided I didn't break rules when I was in high school, so I've started breaking them now as I'm in my 50th year of life. I'm just taking the little chads off from punching them out of the die cut sheet with the emery board. It doesn't take much, just a real quick light sanding, and they pop right off, and it just gives a nice smooth edge, which I like. I had thought about inking the edges, but with the black that comes with the set, I just thought it would be a little too stark, because it's kind of a softer gray, green, kind of a juniper color, real light juniper color. And you'll see I decided I wanted to do ribbon ends on all of the strips, and I really messed this first one up. I couldn't sand it off. I actually had to clip it off. I had not done the alignment well, so, but we got it done in the end. So I clipped off the 2 strips, and then you'll see that I'll put them back on the card and decide what sizes I want them at, so they're all kind of staggered. And I will save the ends of all of these strips, and I'll probably end up making a bonus card with all the little tiny scraps. Normally I would just throw those away, but it was a challenge. I figure I'll see how many scraps I have. I had mentioned I had already assembled card number 7, and I had a pretty big scrap from that one, so I'll just add these to that pile and get at least one bonus card out of this pack, which will be fun. You can't see me stamping this, but I used the Just a Note stamp set or image, and then they had kind of a distressed blotchy little stamp, and I decided to put some blotches around the sentiment that I stamped on the circle. And again, I apologize for you not being able to see what I'm doing off screen. I will get better. You'll get to see the image here soon, and you'll see that it has both first and second generation of the blotches. So first generation is you ink up your stamp and you stamp it and it gets a nice crisp look, and then you ink it up, or you don't ink it up, you just stamp it again and it gives a gray color when you do it with black. So that just gives it some depth, which was nice. And you saw I pulled in a piece of scrap paper to kind of take the first generation stamping off, which was nice. All right. I'm cutting the foam tape to give my sentiment circle some depth. And the foam is in the center of the shaker window foam, so it's really nice that everything is included with the kit for that. So dry fitting, this is how I want it. I kind of eyeball on my card base with a blotch and a line where that point goes for my blue piece, and I'll put that back on. I'll ink up my other 2 strips and get those put on there, and then we'll put the sentiment on. At this point I decide that the front of the card, and again you can't see it because my lighting is kind of bad, the front of the card is kind of blotchy with like a tone on tone, and I thought it would be kind of neat to include some black blotches just like I did on the sentiment on the front of the card. So you'll see me grab that ink pad again, and here after I cut these strips off I do peel those apart and put them up so that the glue will dry, and those can be used on my bonus scrap card that I'll end up doing later. So I grab the foam from behind the stamp, so again I get a nice crisp stamp when I do these dots, and now you can see what I'm doing at least. And I knew I wanted to do some second generation, and I thought it was a little too pale, so I decided to go ahead and do both first and second generation with these blotch stamps. So that's what I'm doing here. I don't recommend stamping on something after you put foam dot on it, but it actually worked out here because it was just a blotch, so it filled in something that worked for me, but I don't recommend that in general. So here are the 2 cards that I did today. You'll get to see those here. And if you want to see more, you can go to craftingwithamanda.com and check out my blog. I should have my videos there. Eventually I'll be on YouTube, but for now, craftingwithamanda.com will have all of my videos. Thanks, and have a great day.